Hey, today we're talking with Army Veteran Ben Burt, founder of Fibrenew. So I said founder of Fibrenew. It's actually a franchise, but you're the owner of you're a business owner and you're independent operator. So we're going to talk about some of the franchising aspects and your experiences of coming out of the Army after 26 years, no doubt. Do want to bring that up. So Ben, first, before we get to talking about business and entrepreneurship, take us back and tell us what you did in 26 years worth of Army.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me, Joe. Yeah, I spent 26 years, started off in the infantry, 2nd Ranger Battalion, and then 2 or 3 assignments, 173rd, and then ended up in the 82nd just as the war was kicking off. And then did 3 years there and finally got over to Special Forces and spent the last 15 years of my career there.
Wow. Okay. How many deployments? Afghanistan, Iraq?
8, 7 to Afghanistan, 1 to Iraq.
Really? 7 to Afghanistan? Holy cow.
Yeah.
Man, good on you. And at the, somewhere in there, you became a medic?
Yeah, when I reclassed over to Special Forces, I was an 18 Delta Special Forces medic.
Okay.
And then did that for about 9 years, and then got promoted to operations sergeant. So spent the last 3 years in group as a team sergeant, and then started to transition over to SWIC and ran operations for medical group, training the new special operations medics and MARSOC and SARCs, training them as well.
Okay.
At Fort Bragg here, and that's where I retired from.
Awesome. Wow. And so talk to us about what you were thinking about as far as transition as you're getting ready to retire after being in the Army for 26 years. Were you thinking way ahead, or did it come as a surprise to you?
No, I was thinking way ahead. However, all that planning and everything changed right before retirement. So my undergraduate degree was in pre-dental. I was planning on going to dental school, and that was like the plan for the last 4 or 5 years in the Army. And then, after all those years deploying, my wife had a really good support network here in Fayetteville with friends and family, and she's a principal of the lower school here in Fayetteville. And she didn't want to move up to Sanford and relocate to go to UNC, or for me to go to UNC. So I didn't want to be a geo bachelor for another 4 years. So I decided to pivot into business. And around that same time, I went up to the STAR program with the VA up in Richmond. And at that program, awesome program. We did 8 straight weeks of rehabilitation, getting kind of range of motion back in a lot of joints, therapy, the whole 9 yards after 10, 12 years of deploying. So there they have a very robust vocational rehab program. And so they helped me start getting into the mindset, educating me on what I didn't know for business. And the counselors there did a great job setting my resume, LinkedIn profiles, educating me on how that works. And then they linked me in with a franchising opportunities for veterans. It's an organization that's set up for veterans to kind of help them, educate them on franchising, because a lot of us don't have business backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so they assigned me a coach. That coach kind of did a 90-minute interview with me to kind of understand what my skills and passions were, what my values were. And they gave me a list of franchises, about 4 or 5 vetted franchises. And on that list was Fibrenew, which is leather, vinyl, and plastic repair and restoration. So I've never heard of it. Wasn't on my radar at all. But as I started to research the business models, which is essentially, it's like an op order. That's what the franchise does for you. And it made the most sense to me because it aligned with my values. I was looking for something where I could control my schedule, work for myself for a change, and work my schedule around the kids and our family events. So good business model for profit margins. Is an at-home business. We do 90% of our work on site for the customer, and low startup costs. I think, all in, and I bought a truck for the business. So, all in, I was under 120,000. So, for me, that was important because I didn't want to go hadn't been in debt in 20 years. So, taking out some business loans to do that. I didn't want to be, in debt as I was transitioning into the second career.
Mhm.
So I was able to get that ball rolling. Went through the validation process and got approval. I was on terminal leave and had the business up and running by the time. In fact, my terminal leave just ended 2 weeks ago. So,
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I do want to go back and clarify something. So is it common for an Army wife to say, I don't want to leave Fayetteville?
I wouldn't think so. But I met her here. She had already moved down here as a teacher, so she kind of was associated with the community outside the Army. And we've been here for, I was in one of those rare situations in the military where we didn't have to move. So we've been able to homestead here since we got married in 2004. We've never PCS together. I did all my PCSing before I got married. So but going to third group and then SWIC and our PD model for special forces, we didn't really have to go anywhere else unless I really wanted to until I'm 89. So so we ended up, she had strong ties to the community and good support network. And we've got a lot of friends and neighbors that really kind of carried her through the years while I was gone for 7 months a year. So it was unusual.
Wow,
and he caught me, kind of threw me for a loop.
You're like, what? You don't want to leave Fayetteville? Well, that's cool. You don't hear that happen very often. And sometimes veterans in the transition process, like, I'm just ready to get out of here and go home. And then you go home and it's not like you really remember it being, and you've been gone for 20 years or 5 years or whatever. It's never the same when you go back home. So sometimes you don't realize what a great support network and everything you've got around right where you're at when you do get out. But it's certainly understandable. So you said vocational rehab is the term. So it's an interesting term because they're basically rehabilitating you. I mean, they're using the word rehabilitation when we wouldn't think of ourselves as needing to be rehabilitated vocationally. Like, can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, it's an interesting term, but it's really kind of true. Like we're so mentally warped from the military mindset in certain ways that you almost do need to be rehabilitated into a business thinking way.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing, they have counselors with the VA that a lot of sites, and I know that McGuire's got a pretty robust program. I don't know about other facilities. I know there is some here in Fayetteville at the VA here, which I just in process a couple weeks ago. So, but they basically get you to understand the business jargon. We have our dialect in the military, as it were, but they teach you how to translate that into the business world. They kind of give you outlines of what's out there. They do a lot of the battery tests to find out what your skill sets are, what you're good at, what you have natural abilities towards. And they also kind of look at, they did a really good job. The biggest thing they did for me, I think, along with the counselors that I was doing therapy with there in the VA, was kind of identify and codify my values. I'd never really done that before. I mean, I kind of, God, country, and all that, but not really codifying what values I really had and what I was looking for was going to make me happy in the next 25 years. So once they did that for me, and that was kind of the baseline that helped me as I was going through the career fields and the different jobs and opportunities out there, that helped me look at those through a lens of really what was going to make me happy and still pay the bills, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was probably the best thing they did for me, because I really had never thought of it in those terms. But as I was going through, when you're retiring, and I'm sure you hear this from a lot of veterans, we're very marketable if we know how to market ourselves and to leverage our networks. But it's a lot of it's less about what opportunities we can get. There's plenty of opportunities out there, but what opportunities are going to be the right fit for us as we, transition to civilian life. So for me, I was very fortunate in the path that I ended up.
Yeah. Now, during the rehab, the vocational rehab process and all this evaluative way of thinking, did anything come as a big surprise to you? And I'm sure it was helpful overall, but like, was anything as a big surprise? Like, I think there's so many military folks get out and they're only concerned about the money aspect. They're like, I need to make at least what I was making in the Army, or I need to make at least, or I'm retiring. I mean, a lot of guys say this, I'm retiring. So with my retirement pay and my new job, I want to make what I was making when I got out or when I retired. But
Yeah.
money wasn't a huge, I'm assuming money wasn't the main focus of the vocational rehab, trying to figure out, how much money to make. It was more about,
I mean, it's a factor. It just depends on if that's, that's based on each individual. If that's part of their values, if that's really what's important to them. I mean, money was a factor for me, no doubt. I mean, we all got to pay the bills, right? After that military paycheck stops, and even with retirement, sometimes it may not cover everything. So for me, yeah, money was a factor, but it wasn't the most important factor. So, I mean, realistically, a lot of my peers, just slide into the military contracting side because the money is there, but they're doing, similar schedules, similar jobs of what they were doing in the military for another few years. I mean, it's a great way to, I guess, build a nest egg and then kind of figure out what you want to do. But for me, I was ready for that next chapter, and for me, it was kind of important. I just didn't want to do. I'd reached that trace of burnout where I needed something new. So, I chose to find a job where I could work for myself and kind of control my schedule and succeed or fail on my own merits, and not really have to deal with bureaucracy that we sometimes get frustrated with.
Yeah, definitely. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, back talking with Army Veteran Ben Burt with Fibrenew, a franchisee. So, Ben, as you're going through your vocational rehab, or you're getting ready to retire from the Army, like, where did this entrepreneurial interest or this entrepreneurial streak come from?
I'd say primarily just I was at that point in my life where I was just tired of poor management. So, you always kind of you go up and down in the military with command climates. But I was just at that point where I was like ready to work for myself and be my own boss. And so that was one of the things when they went through my values that really appealed to me. So I don't think it was anything, it wasn't like I've been a trailblazer my whole life or kind of wanted to walk outside the crowd per se. But I just wanted to feel what that tasted like, being my own boss, managing my own schedule, and truly succeeding and failing on my own merits. And this is one of those, if you can have a team around you when you're jumping into business, great. I would have absolutely, if one of my buddies would have said, yeah, I'll go to do that with you as a partner. Absolutely. Because that's, right now I'm running the franchise by myself. So I miss that team atmosphere, and I know that's pretty common with a lot of vets. But yeah, every day I get up, it's like, okay, well, how good am I going to be today, or how bad am I going to be, and what am I going to learn from it? So, and it's unusual because, for the last probably 10 years of my career, I was a subject matter expert on a few fields. And I knew what I was doing every day. And I knew how to do my job well. People came to me asking for advice, and now I jumped into a completely new field where I don't know anything. I've had about a couple months of training, and then a lot of OJT, working through different problem sets. And so it's kind of neat for me to again, like the military, you never know exactly what your day is going to look like when it starts. But every day I'm learning something new, and honing my craft, because I enjoy being good at whatever I'm set my mind to.
Mm-hmm.
And so set my mind to a new skill set.
So with Fibrenew, what exactly does Fibrenew do? Is it reconditioning of upholstery and other similar things like boats. I think you mentioned before we started talking, you're redoing a chiropractor's chair from their office,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Tell us what an average day in Fibrenew looks like.
Sure. So yeah, Fibrenew, the elevator pitch is that we do leather, vinyl, plastic repair and restoration. So heavy into the automotive industry and the furniture industry, but we also do medical industry, redoing treatment tables, chairs, office furniture, restaurants, some of those business to business contacts, redoing booths. And I didn't really realize until I got into this job field, like how much leather and vinyl is out there in different businesses and stuff. But we do RVs, we do linoleum floors in RVs as well as the chairs. We do aviation, airplane seats. We do boats with all the vinyl, marine vinyl in the boats that get nicked, cut, torn, or just start to wear out. So a lot of times we can restore those or repair those and make them look, if certainly a lot better, but oftentimes we can make them almost look new again. So it's been a roller coaster ride. We do vinyl siding on houses, so it's never the same thing every day. And so, generally I'm at 7 now in the business. So I've delved into pretty much every industry that I just mentioned besides aviation. I haven't had a chance to get in an airplane yet and do that, but and it's been an awesome experience because no matter what the economy's doing, even with COVID, in North Carolina, we were a medical essential business because when hospitals and doctors' offices get cuts and tears in that in their vinyl treatment tables and chairs, that's a breeding ground for bacteria. So we come in and we can patch that up with our antimicrobial materials and blend it in and get it back to serviceability by OSHA standards. So, but yeah, that was one of the things, the resiliency of this business model that really appealed to me.
Yeah. How many franchisors are out there in the U.S. with Fibrenew? Do you know?
So yeah, so it started off in Canada around Calgary. That's where it was founded in '83. And so they branched out. There's 230 franchises in the U.S. And every year they're adding more. They're in New Zealand, I believe Australia now, one down in South America, and a couple in Europe, I think, too now, and actually one in the Middle East.
Oh, no kidding. So, like, what percentage of your business is like cuts and tears? Is that pretty common? Is it especially like with the vinyl siding on the house? Is like it gets cracked or something or damaged?
Yeah. So yeah, I just worked on a vinyl siding job just on Monday. That 3 sides of the house had weed whacker damage on the first level around the vinyl siding. It was cracked and torn. So went in and fixed that so that the homeowners could resell the house. So yeah, automotive. People buy cars and restore them, or we do warranty work too. So if folks that have like the warranty care on their seats and stuff like that. I can do we can do lighter upholstery too on fabrics. We specialize in leather and vinyl, but I can do seam repairs without having to pull the seats out. We can also, if it gets burn damage or scratches, tears, animal damage, we can repair those and make them look a lot better rather than trying to repair the whole seat covers. Now we can do some seat covers and recover them in, we have suppliers that provide us new seat covers and foam cushions if it's too far gone in most models, especially domestic. But yeah, a lot of times we'll try to repair it for about 1/3 of the cost it would take to replace. Same thing with furniture too.
That was my next question. Like, what the benefit to the customer is? It's 1/3 of what the replacement would be. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And I like fixing things. I'm a tinkerer by nature, so
yeah,
that aspect of it's kind of nice. Where I come in and I obviously see something that's torn or messed up, and by the time I leave, and it looks like new almost.
Mm-hmm. You're pretty much a one-man show right now because you've been just been doing this year so far.
I am, yeah. I had a tech that was helping me out for a couple months, but then he had to move back down to South Carolina last month. So I was pretty sad to see him go because, just having that extra set of hands and somebody to talk to on the jobs and kind of problem solve. We were working on mechanical repair of a sofa where the frame had gotten cracked, and he and I were, brainstorming ideas on how to get that fixed. It was sad to see him go, but this market right now it's tough to hire folks. So that's one thing. Fortunately, I'm still around Fort Bragg, so I'm trying to establish myself in with like the SFL TAP and the transitions office to set myself up as a skill bridge internship site, because I think this particular business model is it would appeal to a lot of vets. I would believe it's been great for me. So I'm trying to, give them the option to come, try it out for a couple of weeks, follow me around and see if they enjoy it. Because there's good jobs as a trained technician, or if you want to go the full Monty and be a franchise owner wherever you're moving to, you can open up a new franchise and have a business that you can run out of your house.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you miss the teamwork and having your fellow guys around you all the time, but it's also kind of nice having employees.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those bittersweet double-edged swords, I guess. I don't have to manage other people's problems anymore. But every once in a while, it's nice to have that extra set of hands, or just that guy to go on jobs with and kind of think through problem sets.
Yeah. So the thing I love about the Fibrenew business is because you're like interview number 418 over like 7 years, and I've heard every kind of business imaginable. And so I really like just the simple business concept, because it's so easy to just get your mind around it. There was this Marine years ago, up in the New York area, where he was making like $4 million in revenue a year mowing yards, and I'm like, It's just, it's because sometimes when we're wanting to jump into entrepreneurship, we complicate it so much, and we're trying to come up with the newest iPhone or the newest, most sophisticated thing. And it's like, there's big demand for this simple little thing right here. If you just do this, you'll make money. And
yeah, there's tons of franchises out there. Fibrenew is a great model, but there's other franchises that I looked at too that have those kind of niche markets that, there's definitely a need for that. I just never thought that there would be a business that dealt with it. So, and the plus of the franchising model is that they kind of, like I said, they give you the op order, they give you, the structure, and you just go forth and execute it with your own little twists on it.
Yeah. So you haven't really been bogged down too much with the aspects of running the business. You've pretty much been able to, because you're the one doing the work on the restoration of the plastic, the vinyl, and everything. So the running of the business hasn't gotten in the way too much of you executing the business.
Yeah,
stuff and all that.
Yeah, it definitely took up, and that's one of the things when I got through training and the business got up and running. I would do just one job a day, and then spend the other half of the day working through building my systems, basically on bookkeeping, invoicing. They give you you have QuickBooks, and they give you a customer relations software. Jobber is what we use. And just learning being more familiar with how to use those products. Just like in the military, you got to learn Excel and Word and how those. I remember in the 90s when they first started those, we'd have whole classes and blocks of instruction on this is how you set up a Word document.
You guys had classes on it. We just had to figure it out on our.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. But it's, there is some learning on the backside support, but they give you all that support. We do weekly huddle calls with new franchise owners, kind of talking through and mentoring by franchise owners that have been in the business for 20, 25 years, have had, big franchises with like 12 or 14 techs and 3 territories. And they kind of talk you through the nuts and bolts of, hey, you're trying to get into the medical market. Okay, well, this is how you would market to the medical market. This is how you kind of get your foot in the door with hospitals, get yourself on preferred vendor lists with, warranty companies, and things like that. So it's, that has been incredibly helpful too.
Yeah. So I mean, they've got all the answers for you already. So,
Yeah, and the support network here, even with other franchise owners. I mean, I reach out probably once or twice. I did a ride along as part of the validation process, kind of make sure that I enjoy it, and they kind of make sure that I really have a desire and a skill set to be successful on my own. So it's a two-way street there. But my mentor, that gentleman I did the ride along with up in Durham, I call him probably once or twice a month just to ask him about different jobs, like, hey, what do you think about this, or have you run across this before? And every franchise owner I've talked to has that, just like in the military, they want you to succeed. Everybody has a common purpose of being successful, and they bend over backwards to give you advice, um, or to clue you into new equipment and things like that. So yeah, there's that team atmosphere for common success that obviously coming from the military, that we can relate to that.
so like for the benefit of the listener, I don't want to ask you directly how much money you're making, but like, can you give us some perspective? Like, um, well, I haven't had to take a pay cut since getting out of the Army, or well, at first I was here, and 6 months later I'm here, or number of customers, or whatever you're willing
Yeah,
to share as far as numbers are concerned.
no, sure. So yeah, and a lot of it depends on your individual market. So I mean, I can speak to what my market's been able to do for me, but I have a 5-year pro forma and business plan and goals. By the 5th year, I want to have 2 full-time techs and an office manager to run the day-to-day, and then that gives me the options to do as many jobs as I want, or cherry pick the ones I want, or get another business and start developing another income stream. So that's my 5-year goal.
Mhm.
As part of that process, I set up my pro forma, and I have fixed and variable expenses. The very first month I opened, I covered fixed expenses ahead of schedule. So the business has pretty much been paying for itself since day one.
Good.
I haven't had to do any additional injections. I've got net profits probably, and I'm 7 months in, so I'm about 15,000 in net profits that I'm rolling back into the business to kind of build a war chest.
Mhm.
But by next year, I'll be paying myself a salary. I'm going to start off slow at 36,000, because I'm trying to add another tech and vehicles and things like that. So I'm still building out the structure.
Mhm.
But I'll pay myself 36,000 next year as I get those 2 techs on. The net profits, having a tech and being able to do that additional volume of jobs, probably nets me about 40,000 per tech. Overall, each job on average is about $300. Some, we have a minimum of 175 for a service call, and that's the bare minimum. And usually those are a little bit more rare, because you're in and out in 30, 40 minutes. But my average job is $300. It takes me, I'm still getting more efficient, but at 3 hours or less. Right now I'm doing 2 to 3 jobs a day. So, I mean, my goal every day is to do a minimum of $500. My goal each week is $1,500 a week in gross revenue. So, and my overhead, like I said, I took out loans. So my overhead each month is about 3,000. But like I said, I've made that every month since I started, pretty much.
Wow.
And, I'm so far the last 3 months where I've really kind of gotten my systems in place and kind of gotten the business name out there enough to generate. I'm booked 3 weeks out right now, and I'm probably net revenue or net profit margin right now is about $3,000 a month.
Nice. Wow, man. You know your numbers. Holy cow. I mean, thanks for sharing that with us. I mean, it's very, kind of personal. So I appreciate you sharing that, but holy cow, you know your numbers. So is that an Army thing, or did they train you like that?
Well,
Talking
no,
fixed
that's probably more of an
expenses
Army
and
thing. I mean, yeah, ideally they certainly give you a lot of help in developing those numbers in your business
yeah.
plan, but no, that's me having done a lot of studying and kind of crunching numbers over the last, I mean, steep learning curve. When you go from a degree in medicine to, okay, now I've got to learn how to do bookkeeping and managing invoice and inventory and stuff like that. It's from the military. I mean, I was a platoon sergeant and then a team sergeant, and even as a medic on the team, you run your own budgets, and you you do control your own inventory for your specific equipment. So, I mean, that wasn't a big stretch for me.
I mean, you get rattled all that stuff off the top of your head. I mean, there's a lot of business owners that have no clues what the numbers are, and they don't know what a spreadsheet is. And so that's impressive. Like if you were on Shark Tank right now, they'd be like, wow, you really know your numbers. That's impressive. So, but a lot of times that's missed on folks, especially people getting out of the military that don't have a business background. They don't realize businesses are run on the spreadsheet. I mean, eventually it's going to come down to that. So, I mean, yeah, you got to do the work and you got to have the skill set, whatever. But in the end, it all boils down to the numbers if you're making money or not.
Yeah, and you can. The more you know, the better decisions you can make. I mean, yeah, I've seen the same thing. I've had to deal with other businesses that really don't know what their numbers are, and that's like, for me, I equate that to going on a mission and not really knowing the plan.
Yeah.
So you're like, that's dangerous.
Right. Man, that's awesome. So, so you're out in the marketplace now. So obviously your sense of things, you've got this growth plan in place. Your sense of things is, and you said you're booked 3 weeks out. So your feel how the marketplace is looking there just in your local area is, I can grow a lot. It's just, got to have the mechanism to do so.
It was kind of validating because I, had never really done market research before. But as I was doing my market research and then I got into business and started going out and actually testing it, I was very happy to find that, I guess my market research was pretty accurate, where I have the lion's share of the market in my area. So there really isn't any other businesses that compete in our market share right now. There's a few mom and pop places, and they mostly focus on either, a few upholsterers that focus on furniture, but that's a dying industry, unfortunately, because there's plenty of money to be made or they focus on, the used car and automotive areas, but nobody deals with all the different industries that we deal with. And so, when I first started the business in the summer, I was doing, 2 to 3 RVs a week, working on the linoleum floors there. And then in the fall, that started to taper off. But then, vinyl siding picked up because of storm damage and things like that, or people are trying to resell their homes and they want to make it look better. Automotive and furniture have been pretty consistent all the way through. So each of those industries is probably about 40% of my business. The other is about 25% of the other industries. But again, the more direct marketing I can do to the medical field, I'll get more medical jobs. So I can pivot into the different industries as the economy, which way the economy is going.
Yeah, it's very, very flexible business. If one industry were to get shut down from COVID, you could easily just rotate to another niche of business. So that's pretty awesome.
And that, so as I was going through the validation process and learning this, COVID was still in full bore. This was in winter, spring of 20 and 21. So that was a big factor. And going through and listening to we would have these weekly huddle calls with, any franchise owners that are dialing in around the country. And the consistent theme was that, they were, during COVID, when everything was shut down, they were able to pivot into different industries that they hadn't really dealt with before, but they were able to continue to make revenue. So that was very heartening, because that was definitely a factor, because, a year and a half ago, we didn't know where this thing was going or when the light at the end of the tunnel was coming. And so to know that they could still function and pay the bills and make money in different industries during COVID, that was crucial too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so Ben, somebody in the Fayetteville area looking for do business with you, how would they find you?
Sure. We have a website, Fibrenew.com, and then they just type in their zip code and that'll give them the nearest franchise near them. My email is Fayetteville@Fibrenew.com, Fibrenew.com, or they can give me a call at area code 910-527-5057. We do free on-site estimates, or a lot of times I can give them a ballpark estimate just based on pictures. And then they can fill out the customer information, and it'll pop up on my jobber as a request for estimates.
Cool. Awesome. And we'll give you the last word. If you're talking to somebody who's getting ready to get out, they're in the middle of their transition right now, and they want to run their own show, but they don't really have the latest and greatest idea for a business. What kind of advice would you have for them?
I'd say the biggest advice I'd say is, kind of really look into knowing what your values are, what's going to drive you and motivate you in that next career. The last thing you want to do is jump into something and be committed, with debt or business or whatever, and then find out this is really not what I want to do. Take your time. You're going to have time to do it right, as long as you know what your values are ahead of time. There's plenty of organizations, and the Commit Foundation. There's so many veterans organizations out there to help you, kind of guide you through. And business is not, it's complex, but when you break it down and eat it a bite at a time, that elephant gets a lot more manageable.
Awesome. All right, Ben. Well, thanks for sharing your veteran entrepreneur success story just in the beginning stages in the first year. Really looking forward to seeing your future success.
Thank you so much, Joan. I appreciate the opportunity. I hope it helps some other veterans out there that are getting ready to start looking at that transition process.
Yeah, you bet. I'm sure it does. It's awesome. All right. These two veterans are Oscar Mike.